Hey everyone, my name is Kathy Cronin from Broken Roads. Thanks for being here today. I'm here for Amy Howard at Home, and I'm going to show you a technique that I swore I would never do, and that is painting fabric. I've watched videos. Amy has done videos herself, of course, and then other creatives have done videos on painting fabric, leather, all kinds of stuff. And I kept watching those thinking, that's not me. I'm not going to paint fabric. That's not my thing. That doesn't even look like something I would want to do. And I was dead wrong. I was completely wrong. So I want to show you this transformation on a pillow that I did, my first one. I'm going to recreate this same technique on a second duplicate pillow of this kind. And then also, I'm going to do it on this pillow right here as well. So one of them is going to look like this when we're finished. It's really pretty cool. It used to look like this. I can't believe I did this with paint. So we're going to do this on one of the pillows, another green one just like this. And on this one, I think I'm actually going to use a stencil rather than a freeform wash glaze over the, I used stripes on here with tape, and so this one's going to be a freeform stencil, I think. So the technique is using very few products, and it just starts with making sure you have a clean base. I don't use clean slate. I didn't use clean slate on the pillow, but I want to make sure that I have a clean base to start with, so the pillow is very ready to go for the paint. And then the first thing that I am going to use is some Regatta one-step paint. This is the color in large scale. It, as you can tell, when it's on the pillow, it does tend to fade just a tiny bit, a little bit lighter than what's actually on this wood piece right here, my sample. And then the wash glaze on this striped pillow right here. I haven't done the back side yet. I was so excited when I got the front side done. I couldn't wait to show this to you, but I will be doing the back side as well on this one. On the stripes, I'm using a glaze, a washed down, not a glaze, but a washed down, like a 2-to-1 water paint Dearborne. This is a Dearborne. It's kind of like a grayish white, very neutral. That is my stripes right in here. And then we're going to do a different color on this other pillow as well. When we're finished adding the coats of paint, I do a little sanding on there before the final stripe, then a final sanding, and then believe it or not, we're going to use Mind Your Own Beeswax with a chip brush all over it, not heavy, just light enough to just kind of cover it, and then just sort of buff it out, let that soak in and soften up the material. It's wonderful. I've had this pillow out on my rocking chair now for about a week, and I love how it turned out, and I'm so excited to show you how this works, and I want you guys to try this at home and put your befores and afters up at the before and after group and share what you've done. If you have never done this before, please try it. It's so much fun. Here I have my Summer Regatta one-step paint ready to go. I've mixed it 2 parts paint to 1 part water, and you might want to continually use your brush once you start applying this to stir it up so that you don't get a separation of the water and the paint settling to the bottom. I'm using Amy's 2.5-inch chip brush for this project. It's a wider brush with a thick set of bristles, so it actually will go on very well and have great coverage. Now I'm getting ready to place this on the pillow. Taking our time with just a little bit, we're going to apply it on lightly. It's going to soak in a little bit the first go around. So this first coverage will be going on kind of light, but then it'll dry and look like it's sort of soaked in. Your second coat will make a huge difference in the color of the finished project once it's completely dried. So just carefully painting over this and then going back over these separated lines so they just have kind of a clean, full coverage with no holidays, no missing areas where it needs paint, so full coverage completely. Then I'm going to let this dry about 2 hours just because it's on cloth, and I am using this over the top of a pillow. Let it dry 2 hours and then apply the second coat. For the smaller pillow, I'm using Indian Summer one-step paint mixed with water. The ratio is 2 to 1, 2 parts paint, 1 part water. I'm using Amy's 2.5-inch chip brush to apply the paint to this pillow, and it's going on very nicely. It's a wonderful coverage color, especially on dark wood projects as well. It really does have excellent coverage. So once this dries, we'll add the second coat and then move on to the next step. Indian Summer went on very, very well. The coverage is excellent, but just to ensure a nice, even coat of coverage, I'm going to add one more coat of the Indian Summer to this pillow. Then we'll sand it down and get it ready for the stencil. The next thing we're going to do is lightly sand the pillow with a 320 grit sandpaper, just to kind of smooth it over a little bit. It takes a very light hand. You don't want to press too hard on here. Just kind of lightly run over it so that you can sort of feel the smoothness. Check it with your hand, and you can tell that this gritty feel goes away once you use the paper on it. After this, we're going to apply the stencil. Now that the pillow's been sanded, I'm going to apply Amy's French script stencil on here. This is the mesh stencil, and you just peel it off the paper. And sticky side down, of course, onto your pillow. Now remember, this is not going to be a perfect process. I kind of want this to look a little faded and messy. I'm not going to get every letter. It's a pillow, and I kind of want it to look a little worn. So the goal is just to get some of the lettering on here. I don't really need all of it, but to show that there is some writing. And now we're going to apply Amy's one-step paint on here. The color that I've chosen is Pasha White. I have a sample jar right here. Pasha White is the whitest white that Amy carries. It's a really, really nice color. And I'm going to put it on here, and then also as soon as I'm finished with the stencil, I'm going to drop it in a bucket of water. If you don't wash these off right away, you need to put them in water as soon as possible, because otherwise the one-step paint will get into these little areas of the mesh and your stencil won't work as well the next time around. So until you can wash it off, unless you're going to do it immediately, please drop it into a bucket of water, completely submerge it, so that it'll be easy to take out the paint once you're ready to clean it up. Here we go. I did actually use some painter's tape just to secure this down, since I can't hold it with both hands and do this at the same time. I am using a sponge, just a piece of an old sponge, to apply this instead of a brush or instead of a scraping tool, just because it's on fabric and it's going to be giving very, very much, throughout the process, and I want to make sure that I at least get some into the mesh, and apply it to the pillow properly. So I've added some of the paint to my sponge. I'm just going to run this over the letters. And again, it's not going to be perfect. I don't want perfection here. Sometimes in this business, we get real fixated on doing just exactly the right thing, and every corner has to be perfect. And in some situations that is true, but there is something good about having the flexibility of imperfection and just enjoying that process as well. I think it's harder to train myself to give into the imperfection side, and so this is probably a really good exercise for me. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Here we go. I think I've got that on there pretty well. Just a little bit of paint. I probably didn't even use a teaspoon. I'm gonna drop my sponge in the water, and we're gonna pull this off and see what we get. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Kind of messy and not perfect edges. I love this. Great. As soon as this dries, we'll move on to the next step, which will be mine your own beeswax all over the pillow. The next pillow is the one with the faded stripes. We're getting ready to start that one now. Okay, here we have our second pillow. I'm getting ready to just do light sanding on this, just like the other one. As soon as I'm finished with the sanding here, then we're going to add the stripes. I'm getting ready to add the stripes to this pillow. I've used painter's tape to separate the stripe sections, and then I mixed together 2 parts water and 1 part one-step paint in Dearborne. I'm using Amy's 1.5 inch chip brush to apply this to the pillow. Then we'll let it dry and add mine your own beeswax to both pillows at the same time. Last step here is mine your own beeswax. I have Amy's 2-inch chip brush, and I've applied some of the wax to a piece of cardboard. You just want to saturate your brush, but then offload. You just don't want this really heavy on your pillows. Obviously, you're just going to do a light coat so that it can absorb and sort of make the material a little bit more supple. So I've applied some to my brush, and I'm just going to lightly pass over. Giving this full coverage. Then we're going to let it dry, and they will be ready for my outdoor chairs. We finished our pillows, and they turned out wonderful, and it was a simple process. Again, something I thought I would never try, but I really, really enjoyed it. So just remember, it only takes a few products to do this technique. You need one-step paint, and you need a couple of chip brushes for the process, and then mine your own beeswax for the finishing portion of it to just kind of make the material supple and smooth. after sanding it down with what I used was 320 grit sandpaper. You can use a stencil, Amy's Mesh stencils, to add designs. There's so many stencils out there on the website that you can pick from to add designs to your pieces, to your pillows. And then also, you can do freehand, anything you want on the pillows as well. So I think you should just try this before you decide to toss something away because you don't like the color or the design on it. The paint has excellent coverage. You can cover over squares, diamonds, old patterns, anything really, if you just take the time to try to apply something new and try out a new technique. Now remember, if you would tag 3 friends after watching this video, your name will go into a drawing for Mind Your Own Beeswax. It's a great, great product and so versatile, but I tell you, this is the finishing trick on this material, was adding the Mind Your Own Beeswax after the sanding to get that smooth, nice finished feel. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. Y'all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again soon.